If you don't feel confident about your pronunciation, your fluency, or your listening skills, then you found the right video. Because in this video, we practice accent reduction, pronunciation, and intonation with real people who are learning English along with you. So watch us, join us, and improve your American accent with these videos. Now, this is a very unique channel. So make sure that you subscribe and give me a thumbs up to help me out. It's really hard to get noticed on YouTube these days. And stick around because we practice for hours every day, improving our accent, improving our fluency, and improving our vocabulary and listening comprehension. Stay right here and practice English with us. Good afternoon and welcome to English for Nerds. What we're going to do today is we're going to read some parts of real, actual university level textbooks. These are free textbooks, but they're university level, and you can find the textbooks that we're using at this website, OpenStax. So you can access these for free. There's no charge. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to just read one little brief section, and then we're going to read a simplified summary of that section. And then we're going to practice some of the vocabulary words in that section. Today's topics are ancient history, psychology, and philosophy. Now, if you're watching this with me live, you can ask questions in the chat. And also, if you want to volunteer and practice the vocabulary words with me to work on your accent, to work on your pronunciation, to work on your fluency and listening comprehension, then you can just click on the link in the description and it will take you to my Discord group. And then you can join. The first two people to volunteer when we start the video are the two people who will practice. This is a new time for me, so I'm not sure if anybody wants to practice today. If I don't have any volunteers, we'll still practice the words. But it would be more fun if somebody would like to volunteer to work on their accent and pronunciation. All right, well, let's get started with our first topic, which is ancient history. Now, this one is not in OpenStax. This is from a very large collection of ancient history books published by Cambridge University from the 1920s. So it's still open source. There's no copyright on it. And you can find it at archive.org if you want to. Just look up Cambridge Ancient History. All right, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this brief section, this small section, and then I'm going to read a summary of it in very simple English. So don't worry if you don't understand the words. We have some vocabulary words to practice, and we're also going to read a summary. So even if you don't understand everything, later we'll read something simpler that you can understand. But first we'll read the original. And like I said, ask questions if you want. What does this mean? What does that mean? Explain this, and I'll be happy to stop and talk about some of these things. All right, the title of this section is called The Peoples of Asia Minor. Asia Minor is really, I don't know if people still call it Asia Minor, but it's really just Turkey. It's the country of Turkey. Let's see, I'll just show you on a map. Asia Minor map. See, this is Asia Minor. It's this part of Turkey that sticks out, which, by the way, that's called a peninsula. The peoples of Asia Minor. General physical conditions of Asia Minor. It's still too early to claim that the history of the peoples of Asia Minor may be written with certainty, rarely crossed by European travelers since the Turkish conquest till the 19th century, and still more rarely by scholars desirous to learn its distant past and competent to judge of what they saw. It may be said that Asia Minor was first revealed to the world by the French traveler Texier and by the British geologist W.J. Hamilton, who started on his memorable expedition in 1835. So basically, what they're saying here is that they don't have a lot of information about the early people of Asia Minor. Most of what they know in Western Europe about the Turkish people starts at the Turkish conquest up until the recent time period. Let's see, when did the Turkish conquest start? Let's see, when was the Turkish conquest? I'm not sure. I guess that probably was in the 1500s or something. I don't know. Maybe even earlier. Maybe when they sort of took over the Byzantine Empire. Let's see. When Constantinople became Istanbul. I guess what was that, like 1200 or something? Mm-hmm. 1071. So 1,000 years. All right, so that's all they're saying. They're just saying we don't know too much about Turkish people until the Turkish conquest, until maybe 1,000 years ago. Let me find my place. Since then, French, German, and English scholars, so since 1835, French, German, and English scholars have been diligent in the study of its geographical features and its antiquities. When they say antiquities and they're talking about history, they're usually talking about ancient history. I would guess when you talk about antiquities, you're talking about something at least 2,000 years old. But let's just see antiquities. They're usually talking about the ancient world, which in my mind is 2,000 years ago and more. But let's see. Which is different from antiques. Antiques just means old things, but antiquities means ancient things, things from about 2,000 years ago. Antiquities are objects, buildings, or works of art that are very old and come from ancient times, often, uh, let's see, from what time period? Let's see if we can get an answer. It says typically before the Middle Ages, which is around the year 500. They say CE, which means Common Era, but I'll just, what was it? They used to say BC and AD. They hate that when you say AD, but I'm going to say it because that's the way I grew up. AD. I'll say 500 AD. But I guess now they expect you to say CE. Since then, French, German, and English scholars have been diligent. That means they've worked very hard in the study of its geographical features and of its antiquities. But the excavation of the site of Troy was the first attempt. When you excavate something, that's when if you discover a city that's buried or something important that's buried, and you very carefully remove the dirt from it, that's excavating something. I wonder if we can find what happens if we look at a picture of excavation. It's also used for construction when they dig a big hole. So actually, if you look for the word excavation and then you look for pictures, you'll see modern construction work. See? Because before they make a building, they usually make a hole in the building. But if we put archaeological, then you'll see them carefully removing the dirt from something ancient. So Troy is an ancient city in Turkey, and they're talking about the excavation of Troy, removing the dirt very carefully to try to preserve everything. But the excavation of the site of Troy was the first attempt on a large scale to widen our knowledge with the help of a spade. A spade is a shovel. That's what you use to dig up dirt. You can call it a shovel, you can call it a spade, it doesn't matter. To America by excavation in recent times of Sardis, and to Germany by the unearthing of records of ancient Anatolian Empire at Boghaz Köy, has fallen the glory of revealing its history in days when Greek commerce and Greek language had not yet conquered the vast area that lies between the Black Sea and the Gulf of Alexandretta, between the Aegean and the mountains of the Anti-Taurus and Armenia. To the ancients, indeed, the bounds of the peninsula, that's Asia Minor, that part of Turkey, towards the east were vague and uncertain. Strabo proposed to draw a line from the eastern end of the plain of Tarsus to Sinope, or Amisus, Samsun, in the Black Sea. Such a line would form no proper geographical boundary, though at an earlier period such a division might have commended itself to the Greeks, who felt that the winding Halys ended even vague knowledge of the interior of the peninsula. Winding really means this movement, turning something. But winding can also, if you're describing a path, it's a path that sort of moves in the direction of a snake or moves in the shape of a snake, like an S. That's something winding. They must be talking about a river. I'm not familiar with this river. The winding Halys. Let's see if Halys is a river. Yeah, it's a river. And it's in Asia Minor. It's in Turkey. See? And you see how it moves sort of like an S or like a snake? That's why it's a wind. That's why they're calling it the winding Halys. Geographically, Asia Minor is a curious land. So when they say it's a curious land, that means it's a strange land. If one may use a homely image, the peninsula may be compared to a gigantic inverted pie dish. Inverted means something is reversed or upside down. Let's look at a pie dish. So this is a pie dish. So if it's an inverted pie dish, that means that probably they're saying the land is shaped like this. Maybe you have some flat land and then it goes up and then it's flat again. We'll see in a minute. If one may use a homely image, the peninsula may be compared to a gigantic inverted pie dish, a pie dish upside down, the bottom of which is surrounded by a raised foot. The narrow lip of the inverted vessel is raised but little above sea level. So, if you're talking about the edge of the pie dish, the low part, it goes up a little bit, and then it's flat again, and then it goes up a lot, and then it's flat again. Behind rises the body of the dish to an average height of 3,000 to 3,500 feet. How many meters is that? That's like, I guess, maybe 1,000 meters, something like that. And surrounding this is the foot formed on the south by the Great Taurus Range and continued to the northeast by the Anti-Taurus. This mighty rampart the invader has generally found invincible. A rampart is like a protective wall. And if something is invincible, that means that you cannot defeat it, you cannot stop it. So what they're saying is that because of the shape of the land, where first it goes up a little and then it's flat, and then it goes up a lot and then it's flat, this is a very difficult thing to attack. So it's a very safe place to build cities up there on the top, and very practical too because it's flat. This mighty rampart the invader has generally found invincible, so invaders could never attack. It was too difficult. The Cilician gates above the Tarsus are an entrance and an exit made by human hands. Cilician gates. Let's see if there's a picture of that. They said it was made by hand, but it looks natural to me. If this is real. I guess this is the Cilician gate. So I guess people carved that road out. So it's kind of protected, but maybe they made one entrance that they could guard very easily. The Cilician gates above the Tarsus are an entrance and an exit made by human hands, and being unapproachable by a host in days before artillery, were not difficult to hold by a small but determined force. A slight change of ground for the defenders still leaves the pass impregnable. That word pregnant, or how could we describe that? You know the word pregnant, but uh, it sort of means to go inside. So if something is, if something is pregnable, that means you could go inside of it. If something is impregnable, that means you cannot go inside of it. David Garcia is here. Hi, David. How are you doing tonight? Alex says he wants to practice. That's good. We've got one volunteer for our vocabulary words, which are coming up soon. David, we still need one more volunteer if you want to practice with us today. So let's see, what was impregnable? So they made this one gate, the Cilician gate. Is that how you said it, or did I mispronounce it? Cilician. So they made this one pass, this Cilician gate, to go in and out of the area. And besides that, it was impregnable. You could not penetrate it. You could not go inside of it. Okay, so David says he wants to practice also. Great. Just put your volunteer in the Discord so we have it nice and official for everybody. All right. The last invaders of the peninsula who made good its possession, the Turks, came into it by the mountains of Armenia, far to the east. So if we look at I don't know if we, well, let's just imagine it. I don't want to find a map. So the only way that people were able to actually enter this area, it was so difficult to enter, is they had to go from the east, very far east, from Armenia, to enter into Turkey. That was the only the really practical way to invade. The range of Amanus, which forms the dividing line between the plain of Tarsus and Cilicia and Syria, is less formidable. When something is formidable, it means it's kind of, you're intimidated by it. It scares you. You don't want to attack it because it looks too strong or difficult. So those mountains on the western side were less formidable. If you thought about attacking Turkey from the west, you'd say, oh no, that looks too difficult. Those mountains, those are very formidable. I don't think we can do it. But if you're attacking from the west, it's still difficult, but you think, that might work. It's less formidable. Access also from Mesopotamia is not difficult. Mesopotamia is around the area of Iraq. And the powerful states of that region, at an early period, availed themselves to this route to the metalworking areas near the Black Sea. On the north side, though, the interior is cut off from the sea by similar, though lower ranges of mountains. The foot is neither so continuous nor so difficult of access. On the northwest and west, the peninsula is more vulnerable. From the plain of Troy or along the valleys of Hermus and the Meander lay the routes for trade and for war. The Crusaders with Godfrey gathered at Dorylaeum, Eskisher. I'm glad that Sarkhan is not here to hear me try to pronounce Turkish. Cyrus the Younger started from Sardis on the Hermes, but for his expedition to distant Babylon against his brother, oh boy, Artaxerxes. These are Greek names, difficult to pronounce. Artaxerxes and Selene, and later Apamea. Alexander's forces converged when they were set up upon the conquest of the Persian Empire to its farthest eastern bounds. The climate conditions of the great central plateau of Asia. Plateau, I think that's one of our vocabulary words today, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. You think of the word plate, which is something flat, or the word flat. It's related to, they're similar words. They're related. They come from the same origin. Plat, flat, plate. A plateau is a flat area. So usually it's high up. But, usually a mountain will look something like this, like a triangle. But if you have a mountain like this with a very flat top, or if you have a lot of mountains, but then suddenly it's flat, that's a plateau. The climatic conditions of the great central plateau of Asia Minor are very different from those of its coastlands. Esteban says, could you use the word overrun instead of invade? You could, but overrun, the word invade simply means that one group violates another group. But when you say overrun, and we don't know who wins, you say Team A or Army A invaded Country B, right? And we don't know what happens. We don't know who wins. But if you say Army A overran the country, Army A won. We know that for sure. When you say overrun, that means they invaded and they were victorious, or they won. The climatic conditions of the great central plateau of Asia Minor are very different from those of its coastlands. Its rivers descending from the lofty heights, lofty means very high, of the tableland bring down with them great quantities of solid matter, which in the course of ages have extended the coastline far out to the sea, and produced a low-lying, marshy, malarious area at the foot of the steep slopes which ascend to the central plain. A marsh, I don't know if you know the word swamp. A marsh is like maybe a very shallow lake. It's not a very nice place to be. You can't really walk there. It looks like land, but it's not land. It's wet. It's very wet. That's a marsh. It's sort of a mix of land and water. not very easy to navigate. You can't really walk, you can't really use a boat. Very uncomfortable place. That's a marsh. What else did we? We had quite a few words in there, I think. Let's read it again. It's rivers descending. So descend means going down. The rivers start at the top and then they go down. They descend from the lofty heights, from the high plateau, and bring down with them great quantities of solid matter, which in the course of ages have. So the rivers bring down dirt and rocks, and actually over many, many years, it has increased the amount of land going into the sea. And that's why they have the marshes there, because it's not really land, it's not really water, it's kind of an uncomfortable area in the middle. Have extended the coastline far out to sea and produced a low-lying, marshy, and malarious area. We've talked about the word mal, and I've told you that means bad or evil. So think about those two words together. Mal air. That's evil air, bad air. And everybody knows what malaria is, right? That's the sickness you get in very humid, hot temperatures with maybe a lot of water and no air circulating, so it's very bad air, and the mosquitoes are there, and they make you sick. Malaria. I've lost my place. Let me find my place. The lofty heights of the tableland bring down with them great quantities of solid matter, which in the course of ages have extended the coastline far out to sea, and produced a low-lying, marshy, and malarious area at the foot of the steep slopes. When you talk about a slope, you're talking about the edge of a mountain. So that's why, if I've never gone skiing. I don't ski. I don't do physical activities. But some people like to ski and they'll talk about the slopes. The slopes are like the side of a hill or the side of a mountain. And if you talk about a steep, when you're talking about steep, a mountain or a hill could be very easy to go up. Oh, this is not so bad. Do walking up the very nice mountain. But can you walk up a mountain like this? This is a steep mountain. This is a steep hill, and that's very hard to climb. It's not like this. Oh, this is so easy. It's like this. I wonder, let's see, let's look at steep stairs for a minute. To give a different example. Like these would not be very comfortable stairs to walk up. They might be a little bit difficult. And you would call these steep stairs. So you can imagine, oh, here we have a combination of stairs and mountain. Now you could definitely never ever, I wonder where this is. It doesn't say. You could never ever climb up this mountain. But even the stairs are very, very steep and might be difficult. Not might, they would be difficult to climb. So when they talk about the slopes, they're talking about the sides of the mountains. That's what that slope means. The island of Lade, off the off which the Greeks and Persians fought the battle of 494 BC, is now a hill, some miles inland. The central plain is to a large extent. So again, a plain is just flat land. Okay, this is a plain. But when you talk about a plateau, that's because you've got mountains, but oh, suddenly it's flat. That's weird. I thought everything around here was mountains. So a plain is just flat land. That's where I grew up. I grew up on the plains of the United States. It's flat. There are no hills, no trees. It's just depressingly flat for many, many miles. But a plateau is different because you have to have mountains first, mountain, mountain, mountain. Oh, weird. It's very flat here. There should be mountains. And that's the difference. The Central Plain is to a large extent treeless and better suited for pasture than for agriculture. The climate of this area is continental. Esteban is saying, can you use the word steep as a verb meaning to extract? Um, if you're using the word steep as an adjective, you're talking about the inclination of something. Oh, this is a steep mountain. This is a steep hill. If you use the word steep as a verb, it means like to sit. So if you're making tea, you let the tea steep in the hot water. You let the tea bag sit in the hot water. Or could be coffee also. You could steep coffee. That means to let the coffee sit in the hot water for a while. Wait, let's see. Now I'm scared that maybe I'm giving you a bad definition. But steep, I'm just asking ChatGPT as a verb. Meaning it's better to check. To soak something, to soften it, to extract flavor or clean it. It can also mean to fill or saturate deeply. Uh, the reason I'm saying sit instead of extract, ChatGPT says extract also, but the reason that I'm saying sit is because you can use steep in a more abstract way. She was very angry and she just sat there and steeped in her anger. She was just sitting there in her anger, letting it grow and grow. So yes, you could use it that way. Mostly to talk about tea or coffee or something like that, but you can use it more abstractly also. The slopes which border the southern side of the Black Sea, on the other hand, form one of the most beautiful countries in the world, rich in forest and fruit trees and in flowering plants. East of Trebizond, the rhododendron, those are flowers, rhododendron, and azaleas are also flowers. Serkan, I was just saying, I'm glad Serkan is not here to hear me try to say Turkish words. Serkan, we're doing English for Nerds today, and today's topics are ancient history, and then we're going to do some psychology, and then some philosophy. And so right now we're using Cambridge Ancient History. I think it's from 1922. And uh, yeah, so they're starting with Asia Minor. I'm not sure if they still call that part of Turkey Asia Minor. They might consider that incorrect now. But when I was growing up, that's what they called it. Maybe they've changed it now. Maybe you can tell us if that's okay to call it Asia Minor. East of Trebizond, the rhododendron and azalea, those are two types of flowers. Should we take a look and see what kind of flowers they are? Let's see. I can't even spell rhododendron. Rhododendron. I don't know what they look like. Here are rhododendrons. Rhododendron. I don't really know anything about flowers. Let's look at azalea. These are azaleas. So Sirkan says we never call this region as Asia Minor. What do you call it, or what are you supposed to call it? Can you tell us? So east of Trebizond, the rhododendron and the azalea, here upon their native soil, blossom in the greatest profusion. That means they're all over the place. Serkan says Anatolia. I've heard that word before. Yeah, I've heard Anatolia before. Anadolu in Turkish version. So probably it's better to call it Anatolia. Here upon their native soil blossom in the greatest profusion. The alluvial soil. Now, when you see that word luvia, uvia, that means rain in Latin. So when they say the alluvia soil, the alluvial soil, that means it must, I imagine it means that it must be it must be nice and wet, very good for growing things. The alluvial soil of the western shores is deep and rich, a land fit for the growth and maintenance of great cities, which could draw to themselves the wealth in corn and wool of the hinterland, and well provided with harbors from which daring mariners, when you see the word mare, that means like sea. That's the Latin word for sea, mare. And a mariner is a person who does things on the sea, or in other words, a sailor. Daring means brave, so daring mariners, those are brave sailors. Daring mariners might carry to the north and south and west the rich products which had accumulated in their towns. On the south plain of Cilicia was probably always unwholesome for its malarious marshes. So, wholesome means like healthy, nice, safe. Therefore, unwholesome means not healthy, not nice, not safe. And we've already talked about the words malaria and marshes. So, very unhealthy areas where land and water are mixed, where you can get sick, get malaria. But it was important as connecting Asia Minor with its southern neighbors, Syria and Palestine. By far, the most important of the rivers of Asia Minor was the Halys, now the Kizil Irmak, or Red River, which, rising in the mountains of the lesser Armenia, runs for some distance in a westerly direction, almost parallel. Parallel means they follow in a line together like that. They run together. Almost parallel to the Euphrates. Well, we looked at a picture of the Halys River earlier, but let's compare it to the Euphrates to see what they mean by parallel. So the Euphrates River plays a very important part in history. I know that much, but I don't know about. I've never heard of the Halys River. Okay, so I guess you have the Euphrates River you can see, but I think the Halys River is the river above it. So that's why it's saying they run parallel. They kind of run next to each other. By far the most important rivers of Asia Minor was the Halys, now the Kizil Irmak or Red River, which, rising in the mountains of the Lesser Armenia, runs from some distance in a westerly direction almost parallel to the Euphrates, and having made a tremendous curve to the southwest, turns gradually northwards and finds its way to the Black Sea, some 30 or 40 miles to the northwest of Samsun. Of less importance are other northward flowing rivers, the Iris, east of the Halys, formed by the junction of the ancient Scyllax and Lycus, and much farther to the west, the Sangarius, which, emptying itself into the Black Sea some 60 or 70 miles east of the Bosporus, seems to make the eastern boundary of Homer's knowledge. From its banks, Priam of Troy brought Hecuba to be his bride, and there he fought against the mysterious women warriors, the Amazons, whose legend in the lands east of the Halys is not even now extinct. Sirkon says, oh boy, Kizlirmak means Red River, and Eske something here, Old City. Apart from the Halys, and the most important river of Anatolian rivers are those which flow westwards, the Simois and the Scamander of Troy, which have had no importance in the world had it not been for the Homeric epic of the tale of Troy centered on their banks. The Caicus, flowing southwards, not from the later Pergamum, the Hermus traversing a comparatively narrow valley on the southern slope, of which stood Sardis, the capital of the Lydian Empire, and Magnesia, near Mount Sipylus, and entering a bay on the southern side stood Smyrna. The Caister through marshes famed for waterfowl, reaching the sea of Ephesus. I think I just heard some people recently say Ephesus. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I always thought it was Ephesus, but now I've heard recently people saying Ephesus. Ariel Martin says, what level is this? Well, this is pretty advanced. But don't worry, because I know that this is very difficult to understand. And what I have a summary. So when we finish, which is pretty soon, I think just one or two more pages, then we're going to read a very basic summary of what we've just talked about. So it should be clear no matter what. But first, we have to go through the difficult part. We have to read the hard part first, and then we'll go to the easy part. First, you have your dinner, and then you can have your dessert. First, you have to eat your vegetables, and then you can have some ice cream. The meander pouring through a broad valley studded on either side by famous cities. All these play an important part in Greek history and legend. In the mountainous country of Lycia, the rivers are naturally shorter and less important. Through picturesque means it would make a beautiful picture. Picturesque gorges. Gorges are like, they're sort of like valleys. What is the definition of a gorge? It's like a, I don't know how to describe. A gorge is a deep, narrow valley. It's like a valley. Let's look at a picture of a gorge. These are gorges. Not gorgeous, which means beautiful, but gorges, which means a valley. A valley with steep sides. In the mountainous country of Lycia, the rivers are naturally shorter and less important. Through picturesque gorges, so gorges, little valleys with steep sides that would make a beautiful picture. Picturesque gorges. The Saris, Sehun, and the Paramus, Jehun, breaking into the Cilician plain, which owes its extent to them, though they're too swift to be of use for the exploitation of the mountainous country inland. How many pages are left? Okay, just one more, 1.5 pages. In this mountainous country, volcanic rocks through which run veins of valuable metals rise here and there amid the prevalent limestone. Prevalent means you can find it everywhere. Prevalent limestone of the peninsula. Sarkhan is naming all the rivers: Sehun, Sejhun, Sehun, and Jehun rivers. You know all those rivers, right, Serkan? And Ariel says a deep, narrow valley is a gorge. Yeah, with steep sides. We were just talking about the word steep. So if you're talking about the slope of a mountain, this would be very easy to use. But if you talk about a steep mountain, that would be very difficult to walk up. So it's a deep and narrow, and it has steep sides. In this mountainy country, volcanic rocks through which run veins of valuable metals rise, and here and there, and amid the prevalent limestone of the peninsula. Probably the earliest inroads into Asia, which history as yet records, are those of enterprising traders. If someone is enterprising, that means that they see a business opportunity and they say, oh, I can make money doing that. That's what being enterprising means. It means finding ways to make money. It's a very positive word. Enterprising traders from Mesopotamia. So Mesopotamia, that's around Iraq. Who have left behind them evidence in pottery and inscriptions of their presence more than 20 centuries before Christ. At Kultepe, south of the Great Bend of the Halys near Caesarea Mazaca, there seems to have been an emporium. An emporium is like a giant shop, a giant place, a very large place where you can buy things. Okay, I don't like my definition though, so I'm just going to check with ChatGPT, emporium. But that's how I would describe it. Let's see how close I am. An emporium is a large store or marketplace where a variety of goods are sold. In historical context, it refers to a trading center or a place where merchants buy and sell items. I was right. Let's read that again. Near Caesarea Mazaca, there seems to have been an emporium. So near this place that they just mentioned, there seems to have been a very large center where people would go to trade or buy iron. For iron forged, when you forge iron, have you ever seen people using, let's take a look at that. That's probably important for this idea. Forging iron or you can forge any kind of metal, really. It's this process when you heat the metal and then you shape it to make something. That's forging. Let's read it again. Near Caesarea Mazaca, there seems to have been an emporium for the iron forged by the Caribes far in the north on the slopes. Remember, the slope is the side of a hill or a mountain. Nearer the Black Sea, between the Samsun and Trebizond, a mysterious people living in the dens and caves of the earth, giving rise. Turkey is full of mysterious caves. I think that would be an interesting thing to visit, the mysterious caves and tunnels and underground cities of Turkey. Kave says, sorry for being late. Oh, that's okay, Kave. We're talking about very close to your area. We're doing ancient history right now, and we're talking about Asia Minor, or as Sarkhan has told me, we should say Anatolia. Uh, Ariel says, how difficult are the names of rivers and places? Well, I guess, they're pretty difficult. I'm not sure. Your Ariel Martin, that sounds Spanish, but then Schartz, that sounds German or something. So I'm not sure which which language you're coming from or which languages you're familiar with. But I guess if you're used to Greek names and places, a lot of them might be kind of easy. The Turkish ones aren't so easy. They're all kind of difficult. But that's for everyone, including me. All right, let's get back here. A mysterious people living in the dens and caves of the earth, giving rise to legends of mysterious dwarfs. Dwarf is a little person. Let's take a look. We've talked about that actually before. I don't remember why, but we were talking about dwarves for some reason before. Uh, these are dwarves. Little magical people, but also you can use dwarf to talk about people who are like this also. It's used that way. But most of the time, especially if you're talking about history, you talk about them like they have magical powers or something like that. Kave says a dwarf can be a star. Well, dwarf just means that something is very small. So if you're talking about a dwarf star, that would mean not so big star, not your usually big star. But what I don't know anything about astronomy. That's just what I imagine. So let me just ask ChatGPT because you never know. Dwarf star meaning, especially when you get into technical terms. Type of star that is relatively small in size. Yeah, that word dwarf just means that it's smaller than your typical star. Kave says that runs up all of it. Do you mean runs out of all of their energy, like a dying star? Esteban says, could you use the word forge for the word falsify? Yes, you could. When you talk about forging, it usually means that it usually has to do with writing. So, if let's see, if we use the past participle forged, I'm just going to Google forged. Oh, it just shows metal. Let's see, forged item, let's say. No, this still doesn't really show anything fraudulent. Okay, I guess we have to do forged document. Usually it's about writing. If you talk about a forgery, it could be like forged, somebody like, look, that's a forged passport. Something in writing, usually. A forged book. That's like a copy of a book trying to make it look authentic. Most of the time, it's used for signatures, a forged signature. Kave says a used up star. Yeah, that's probably like it's about to die, running out of energy, something like that. Okay. Let's go back to the mysterious dwarves living in Turkey. A mysterious people living in the dens and caves of the earth, giving rise to legends of mysterious dwarves and supplying the Greeks with a name for steel, which seems to have become known to them first in this area. This country is rich in minerals. Strabo speculates. Speculate is a fancy word for guess. Speculates on the relation between the name of the Calibes and Alibe, whence, according to Homer, was the origin of silver. So, wait. How do you say silver in Greek? I'm just asking ChatGPT. Maybe in modern Greek it has no relationship, but we'll see. Probably. I mean, that word probably remain the same. It says argyros or argyros or something like that. In modern times, a relation has been seen between alibe and the word silver, and the existence, according to Pliny, of silver Sidonum and a tribe of Sideni, to which Strabo adds a town, Side, suggests here also may be the origin of sideros, which is the Greek word for iron, the etymology of which is unknown. So when you see the word etymology, that means the origin of a word. And they're saying that the word sideros is the Greek word for iron. Let me see, iron in Greek. Sideros, yeah. And they're guessing that maybe the word sideros, which is the Greek word for iron, comes the etymology, the origin of the word, comes from the fact that there's a town named Side, and that seems to be a place that was very famous for forging iron in Turkey, in modern day Turkey. It's probable that from the earliest times on the Central Plains at least, and extending down into the mountainous country to the southwest, was a population with a striking physiognomy. Physiognomy means like a physical shape, like the shape of the body, the characteristics of the body. And striking means very interesting, very unusual, very noticeable. So let's see. Let's read that again. They're talking about the population of this area had a striking physiognomy, a striking look, a very unique, noticeable, different sort of look, which is still common amongst the Armenian population of today. Of this population, the special characteristics are a prominent nose. Prominent means it sticks out, it comes out very much. In line with the forehead. So it comes out, but it also seems to go up and down, receding and rising to an unusual height. How far this strange configuration of head is natural, and how far increased by the practice of mothers who tie very tightly round the heads of their babies a towel, which when soaked in water exercises great pressure upon the bones in infancy, is still a matter of dispute among experts. Sarkhan, have you ever heard of, probably they don't do that anymore, but in the past, have you ever heard of mothers trying to give their children's noses unusual shapes with wet towels? Ariel says, forging books by photocopying? No, that would be copying books. Forging a book would be like if you take an old valuable book and then you try to make an exact copy of it to try to trick people, to try to commit a fraud, that would be forging a book. So you have to like be trying to intentionally trick people or cheat people so that it can be called a forgery. If you photocopy it, everybody would know that that's a photocopy and they would not be tricked. But if you spent a year trying very carefully to match exactly a very valuable book so that you could make money or trick people, that would be a forgery. Forgery is a serious crime. Probably art has only increased the sloping forehead. So remember, slope is the side of a mountain or a hill, And now they're talking about the sloping forehead. So you think of the forehead like a mountain or a hill. Probably art has only increased the sloping forehead given by nature, and the Hittite warriors of the 14th century BC and the Armenians of today have the same characteristic profile. A profile is like the side of the face. It may be fairly assumed that the rich coastlands drew from very early times invaders to establish themselves. And throughout history, we find on the sea level a population differing from that which holds a great central plain much along the eastern shore of the Adriatic. The coast population has generally differed from that of the inland country high above it. The pastoral people of the plateau, however, must in early times have been to some extent migratory because of the difficulty of keeping their flocks alive. A flock, sometimes you see the word flock and it's like a group of animals. Certain animals, when you're talking about them in a group, are referred to as a flock of birds. But here they're probably talking about sheep, a flock of sheep. Yeah, they are. It says sheep down here. Ariel says among is similar to amongst. Yes, they're interchangeable. Although I think among is more common. There's no S with among. So you either say among or amongst, which is harder to pronounce for people. I think most people would say among and not amongst. The pastoral people of the plateau, however, must in early times have been to some extent migratory because of the difficulty of keeping their flocks alive during the stress of winter. Just as to this day the sheep of the highlands of Scotland migrate to the lowlands in winter, where food is more plentiful and accessible, so in Asia Minor, the primitive Anatolian. Okay, well, that was the end of this section of ancient history. So we'll stop here. And now what we're going to do is what I did was I put these words into ChatGPT and I said, give a very short and simple summary of this text. So now I'm going to read that just in case you missed the information and you want the information. But first I have to find it. Where did I put it? I think this is it. Let me see. All right. So this is a very short 3-paragraph summary of what we just read, okay, in case you missed some of the information. And then what we're going to do, David and Alex are going to join us, and we're going to practice 3 interesting vocabulary words that we learned in this section. We'll practice pronunciation, intonation, and accentuation for accent reduction and listening comprehension. And then we're going to move on to psychology. We're having a very nerdy afternoon. Sarkhan says, I've never heard of any such thing. It may be common among the Armenians. I don't know. I've never heard of it either. Let's see. Esteban, does the word slope could you use the word slope as incline as a verb? Yes, you could. Yes, you could. The difference is slope. Slope sounds Germanic to me. I'm not sure of the origin of that word. And incline sounds Latin. So slope would be a more typical word that you would use in conversation if you wanted to use it as a verb. The mountain slopes down to the sea. So you could use it like a verb. The mountain inclines down to the sea. Yeah, I think slope is probably Germanic and it sounds more natural. So it's better to use that if you're describing something, because if you say the mountain inclines down to the sea, that sounds very academic and weird and cold. And usually the Germanic words sound friendlier or nicer in conversation when you're talking. Okay, so let's read the summary really quickly, and then we're going to practice some vocabulary words from this section. Asia Minor is, or as Sarkhan has told us, Anatolia, is known for its rich history and diverse geography, has been studied in depth since the 19th century by European travelers and scholars. Early explorers like Texier and Hamilton revealed its landscape and ancient ruins, while major excavations, such as those at Troy and Bogaz Koi, uncovered the region's connections to ancient empires and civilizations. Geographically, Asia Minor is shaped like an inverted pie dish. So remember, inverted means like upside down. So pie dish is shaped like this. So an upside down pie dish would be like this. Surrounded by mountain ranges like the Taurus and Anti-Taurus. Esteban says slant or tilt. Slant, again, that's kind of like the inclination. You could talk about something is slanted. But when you say slant, usually you're talking about something you expect to be up and down or straight, but it's not. For some reason, it's going in the wrong direction. That's usually how you would use the word slant. And tilt, again, that's something where it does mean like this. It does mean making an inclination, but it's usually talking about moving something and putting it in the wrong position. So they're related words, but they have special meanings, slant or tilt. When you say, oh, it's slanted, that sort of means, not always, but it means usually that you expected it to be up and down or like this, but it's not. It's somehow uneven. You could think of slant as meaning uneven. It's kind of a negative thing. Why is it slanted? It shouldn't be like that. But it doesn't always mean that. It's not always negative like that, just usually. Okay, Asia Minor's geography varies significantly with a central plateau. So remember, a plateau, that's when you have, oh, mountains, look, up and down, up and down. Oh, wait a minute, it's flat here. What's that about? That's a plateau. It's flat, but you kind of expect it not to be. Plat, flat, it's the same word. Ariel Martin says, where's the stress in winter? Winter. You tell me. Winter. Where's the stress? Winter is on win. Winter. Esteban says tip. Tip, again, means to put something, to change something from an up and down or flat position and move it a little bit in this direction or in that direction. Ariel says, does GPT do good text summaries? Let's see. Let's finish this and see. I think it does. It seems okay. Uh-oh. I've got too many windows open, and now I'm confusing myself. Sirkan says, Begas Koi, Bodaz Koi, literally means throat village, shifting meaning a narrow passage connecting two larger regions. Oh, thanks for explaining that. I was just about to say, why does it mean throat village? That's a weird thing. But now that you explain it, that makes sense. Okay, Asia Minor's geography varies significantly with central plateau that is dry and suited for grazing. Okay, now that word grazing comes from the same word as grass. And grazing, some animals just eat grass, like cows, and I think sheep also only eat grass. So grazing is animals eating, the animals who eat grass eating. If we look up if we look up, that's going to be one of our words today, grazing, one of our academic vocabulary words. If we look up, if I just type grazing, you'll find pictures of animals eating grass, because that's what it means. Whoops. See, here are animals grazing. They're just eating grass. Wrong document. I've got too many documents open. I'm getting confused. Asia Minor's geography varies significantly with the central plateau that is dry and suitable for grazing. So it's a good place for animals to eat grass, sheep and cows, while the coastal regions are fertile and rich in forests and agriculture. The rivers such as the Halys, Kizil Irmak, meander, and Hermes. You know, meander is a word in English. It means to be very indirect. So I bet if we looked at a picture of the Meander River, it would probably go like this. That's probably where we get the word meander from. Let's see, Meander River. Yeah. Is this really the Meander River? Wait, Turkey. I'll put Turkey. Oh yeah, definitely. This is where we get the word meander. You can use meander to talk about just going somewhere with no direction. Oh, I just meandered through the town. Look at the Meander River. It doesn't really have any direction. It goes everywhere. You can use meander abstractly. First, he started talking about his new job, and then he started to meander. It means he started talking about all kinds of different things. All right. The rivers such as the Halys, Kizil Irmak, Meander, and Hermes play key roles in the region's history and commerce. The Central Plateau experiences a harsh continental climate. We've talked about the word harsh many times. That means extreme in a bad way. So this region experiences extreme bad weather, maybe extreme cold or extreme hot or both. Esteban says, "Meander does meander mean wind or twist? It does. It does. It means more like wind than it does twist. Twisting is like this. This is twisting, but meander is going this way, then going that way, then going this way. No direction, no destination. Just going from here to there to there to there. Where are you going? I don't know. I'm meandering." The Central Plateau experiences a harsh continental climate, while the Black Sea coast is lush. Lush means like luxurious, green, wet, like a paradise. So the Black Sea coast is lush. It's very green. It has trees and flowers and water. It's like a wonderful place. With vegetation including rhododendrons and azaleas. Over time, the coastal areas like the Ephesus and Smyrna became hubs of trade and culture, benefiting from the wealth of resources and favorable harbors. The population of Asia Minor has a striking diversity. Ancient tribes such as the Hittites left behind pottery and inscriptions, and their influence is still seen in the region's Armenian descended population. These people were known for their distinctive physical features and early practices of metallurgy. Metallurgy is the art of shaping metal, of heating metal and then shaping it into things, and maybe even mixing metals. Coastal populations were often different from those of the Central Plateau, influenced by invaders and traders. Seasonal migrations of shepherds and flocks from the highlands to the coast for winter grazing reflect the enduring influence of geography on human activity both in ancient times and today. Esteban is asking about the word wander. Wander means to be walking, but with no destination, not going anywhere. And you can also use that abstractly when talking. Or during the meeting, his mind wandered. He's supposed to be focused on the meeting, but his mind was going off into thinking about his vacation or what he's going to have for lunch. That's a wandering mind. A wandering person is just walking, but they have no idea where they're going. They have no destination. Okay, so that was the summary of ancient history. And we have David and Alex who have volunteered. David, Alex, are you still there? I haven't heard from you in a while. I hope you're still there. And they said they were going to practice some vocabulary words. So we have some vocabulary words here taken from the text. Okay, and I've already got everything prepared and ready, but I do have to take a 1 minute break. So, David, Alex, wake up. It's time to practice. But first, so we're going to practice using these sentences, making questions, but we're really going to focus on accent reduction. We're going to find ways or figure out ways to improve the way that we speak so that we're understood well, we sound more natural. And also, this is very good for listening comprehension if you're having trouble with your listening. So I will return in 1 minute, and then hopefully David and Alex will join us. If not, I'll just do it by myself. But I'll be right back. Don't go away. We're going to practice lots of English. Okay, Alex is still here. Okay, I'll be back in 1 minute. All right, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. Ariel Martin says, "Are you a native teacher?" Yes, I am. I'm from the United States, from Chicago, the Chicago area. Actually, I grew up in the country, not in the city, and I still live in the country, but a different country. I live in Mexico. Okay, let's see. Let's bring in Alex and David. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Oh,
can.
okay, we've got Alex. David, are you there? Did you disappear?
Yes, yeah. No, he's here.
Wait, he's here, but he's on mute.
No.
Are you there? Okay. Alrighty.
Can you listen to me?
I can hear you just fine. Yeah, everything's fine. What's the difference, David? What's the difference between listen and hear? Do you know, David? Oh no.
Can you repeat the question?
What's the difference between listen and hear? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know.
Listen is with attention, like this. Listen, like
Mhm.
that. And hear just is, is the sound reaching your ears? Does that make sense? Can you tell the difference? So when you're listening, it's you're paying attention. And when you're talking about hearing, it just means the sound is coming into your ears. Do you understand, David?
Yes, I got it now.
Yeah.
Yes,
So which is better? Can you hear me or can you listen to me?
because we are practices. I'm listening to you and pay attention.
Okay, but in our situation where you were just entering the chat and you didn't know if if I could hear you, I just gave you the answer. It's here. Can you hear me? That's what you say when you're using the phone or something or some kind of device. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? It just means is my sound coming into your ears? Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, yeah. When you are testing some tool for example, this tool.
Yeah, then you would say here. Okay. Mr. Alex, let's
Yes,
see.
yes,
What is our first nerd word for today? We've got. Do you see that word? What is it? Can you read it? What does it say?
plateau, plateau, yeah,
Plateau. Plateau.
plateau.
Are those big sounds or little sounds? Plateau.
Oh, oh, yeah, big
Oh,
plateau.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Also, is also big.
plateau, yeah. Mm.
So two big sounds, but O is bigger. You're right that O is bigger. Plateau. So
Mm.
you have to say it's a French word, so maybe that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
a little bit different from English, and you have to make that O at the end
Oh,
extra long. Plateau.
plateau, yeah.
David, can you say that word? Plateau.
Plateau.
Plateau. Plateau. Where's the accent?
Plateau.
Plateau. Which
The
syllable?
accent is
Mm.
Which one?
the first syllable.
No,
The first one.
that would be plateau. Plateau, but it's not. It's plateau.
Oh,
Plateau.
plateau.
There's a second syllable that has the accent. Plateau. Plateau. Can you say it like that, David?
Plateau.
Alex, have you seen that word before? Plateau.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Alex, can you read number one? What does it say?
The first example, yeah.
Yes.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Grassy. Grassy.
Grassy, yeah.
Grassy. Say it again. Read the sentence again.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Okay. David, can you read that sentence, please?
Plateau. Okay.
Number one.
One
Read
moment.
wild animals. Can you see that? Are you able to see the video?
No,
Okay. Well,
I see.
no, you do see or you don't see.
No, I don't see. I see rating and crucial.
Oh, okay. Here, I'm going to put that in Discord for you. Okay.
On wild animals. No, no. Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Grassy. Grassy.
Grassy.
Try it again. Read that again. The whole sentence.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Okay. Can you read the first one, two, let's see. How many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Read up to the first 5 words, David.
Wild animals lives on the
Okay, is it lives or live?
live.
Live. Right, because it's they. Wild animals is they. Only he, she, and it use an S in the present. So wild animals, they, will not have an S. Okay, what are the important words in that phrase? Wild animals live on the.
I think that important is wild animals and live.
Okay, all right. So we've got a lot of important words. Let's reduce the important word. Let's reduce the important words. Let's just say wild and live. I think that's enough. I don't think that we really have to emphasize the word animals here. So how does that sound? How do those first 5 words sound in a typical English phrase?
Wild animals live on the
Okay, but now we want to make the vowel sounds in wild and live very big, and we want to make the other vowel sounds very small. Wild animals live on the.
wild animals live on the
Yeah, it's like that. That's how it sounds when somebody is talking. Wild animals live on the.
wild animals live on the
Oh, Alex, can you try that? Wild animals live on the.
Wild animals live on the.
Okay, Alex, what are the next 4 words up until the word the?
Okay, grassy plateau in the.
Okay, but remember that it's grassy, not.
Grass. Yeah, sorry, grass. Yeah, yeah.
Try again.
Gra- okay, grassy plateau in the.
Okay, and what are the important words in that phrase?
Wild animal live on the grassy plateau. Grassy,
Okay, how about plateau?
grassy,
Is that also important?
and yeah.
Okay.
Grassy plateau.
Now, grassy, that's 2 syllables. Where's the accented?
Uh,
Where's the accented syllable in that?
ah, grass.
Gra. Okay. And how about plateau? Plateau.
You,
Which,
you just you just you just said it a minute ago.
okay, what is
Oh,
toe? Toe,
oh, yeah,
toe,
yeah.
toe,
Oh, yeah.
toe.
Oh.
All right, so our phrase sounds like this now. Wild animals live in the grassy plateau in the. Can you try that, Alex?
Okay. Wild animals live in the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Okay, just read up to the. Plateau in
Okay.
the. Plateau in the.
Plateau in the. Yeah.
Grassy plateau.
Wild animals.
Go ahead.
Wild animals live in the grassy plateau in the.
Live on the grassy, not in.
Live on.
Live
Live on. No, on. Yeah.
in the. Try again.
Okay. Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the.
David, can you try that? Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the.
wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the
Plateau in the. Can you say plateau in the?
plateau in the
Grassy plateau in the.
grassy plateau in the
Try to say it like one word. Grassy plateau in the.
grassy plateau in the
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the.
wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the
Okay, and David, the final phrase, African savanna, are those important words?
yes, that for me are important.
Okay. And now African, that's 3 syllables. Which syllable has all of the sound? Which syllable has the African?
Yes, the first one,
The
African.
just like the same sounding grass. This is How about savannah? Savannah. Which syllable has all?
Savannah. The second one.
Savannah. You're right. You're right. Okay, so we'll make that big. And then we have, so now we can say in the African savannah.
In the African savanna.
Plateau in the African savannah.
Plateau in the African savanna.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savannah.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Can you try that, Alex? Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savannah.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Okay. Now let's add a little bit of music. We'll just make all of these high tones. Nothing fancy. We'll just go very simple here.
Okay.
And then, but when we get to the final part of our phrase, we'll make that a low tone. Whoops. Because it's the end of the phrase. Maybe we'll make both of these words low. Why not? Let's see how it sounds. So it would sound something like this. Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savannah. Can you try that, Alex, with a little bit of music?
Okay. Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Don't go up. Don't say savannah. Do savannah. Go down instead of up.
Savanna.
Yeah.
In the African savanna.
Okay. Can you try that, Alex? I'm sorry, David.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just adding a little bit of music, making the important sound higher. But then when we get to the end, we're making that a little bit low. And live on the grassy plateau in the African savannah. Can't even do it. Can you try that?
Yes. Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna.
All right. Now, David, we've been talking about tag questions recently. These little questions that you ask at the end of a sentence that mean, do you agree with me? Right? Are you familiar with those, David? Is that something that people usually avoid them because they're confusing and difficult? But do you know what I'm talking about when I say tag questions?
Yes, I know what is a tag question is.
Okay. Can you put a tag question at the end of this? What kind of question would you ask at that means, do you agree with me?
The sentences, if I agree with the sentences,
how would you make the question? How would you ask that question? Can you make the question?
For the sentences?
Yeah, for wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savannah. How would you, what would you do to put a question at the end of that means, do you agree with me?
For example, the tag question for the sentences would be don't they?
Okay.
If the animal is the same.
Okay, you're right. Don't they? Okay. But if you make the question like this, with this intonation, don't they? That means like, I don't know. Can you tell me? But what if you're very sure about it and you just want the other person to agree with you? Then how would you say it? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay, Alex, how would you say that if you want to sound confident, like this is what I believe and I want you to agree with me? How would you read that question?
Don't they?
Well, that's you're going up at the end. You're saying, don't they? That means I don't know. You tell me. But how do you say, this is my opinion and I want you to agree with
me? Don't they?
You're doing it the same way.
Okay.
You start high and you go low. Don't they? You hear the difference?
Don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. It's don't
they. Don't they?
That's like, hey, come on, agree with me. I'm right. Don't they?
Don't they? Yeah.
Wild animals live on the grassy savanna, on the grassy plateau of the African savanna, don't they? Can you say it like that, Alex?
Okay. Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna, don't they?
Don't they? Right, that sounds very confident. Can you try that, David? Go from high to low. Don't they?
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna, don't they?
Okay, if you say don't they, that sounds like I don't know, you tell me. But how do you sound confident like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. You agree with me. Don't they? Can you try it like that? Don't they?
Don't they?
Yeah, like that. That means this is my opinion. I'm right. Agree with me. Do you hear the difference?
Yeah, when I'm sure what I'm saying that the animals live on in the African savanna.
Yeah, you're sure about
Don't they?
don't they?
Sure.
You're confident if you say it like that. Say it again.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna, don't they?
Okay, and if you say it like that, you're not sure. You're saying you tell me what to think. Say it in a confident way.
Wild animals live on the grassy plateau in the African savanna, don't they?
No, that's you're very unsure if you say it like that. You have to go high low. Don't they?
Oh,
Don't
oh.
they?
Don't they?
Yes, now you sound confident. Don't they? Try again.
Wild animals live on grassy plateau in the African savanna, don't they?
No, you're asking me instead of telling me. Don't they? Don't do that. Be confident and say, don't they?
Don't they?
Yeah, like that. Can you try like that one more time?
One more time. Wild animals live on grassy plateau in the African savanna, don't they?
No, that was good. That was perfect. Okay, now Alex,
Yes, sir.
if you agree with my opinion, how will you answer? How will you tell me, "Oh yeah, you're right. That's true."
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. If you agree with me, then you repeat the original idea. Yes, they do. Uh,
Yes.
how would you, David? How would you disagree with me if you want to tell me I'm wrong? What I'm saying is not true. How would you answer that?
With that question, they said, no, they don't.
No, they don't. You're telling me, no, you're wrong. They don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
No,
Go ahead.
no, they don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. Don't.
They don't.
No, they.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next nerd word for today, which is grazing. We've already talked about that. That's related to the word grass. That's what animals who eat grass do. That's how they eat. They graze. They graze. Alex, can you read the example sentence? What does it say?
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow.
Okay, what is a meadow, Alex?
Meadow or meadow? Meadow or
Meadow.
green meadow? Meadow.
Meadow. What is a
Green meadow. Meadow is it's like a piece of land or a
uh-huh.
like a, like a land or like a
Yeah, it's usually like an area with no trees. It's just
area.
or something like this is a meadow. It's like a field. It's probably another way of saying a field. These are
Mhm.
meadows. Okay. 9-volt fan says, "Hi, why did you start the stream early?" I didn't start anything early. This is something different. If you're thinking about the news and the other things, I would normally do that at 5 o'clock, but I'm trying something different today. I thought I could do 3 videos today, but probably not because this is taking a very long time. So it's not that I'm starting this early, I'm starting something new late. Let's think of it like that instead. Okay. David, can you read number 2? What does number 2 say?
Number 2, the
Yeah.
sheep were grazing in the green meadow.
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 What does that mean? The sheep were grazing.
Oh, the sheep was going around in the meadow,
Well,
and the meadow is
but grazing comes from the word grass. It's the same word. And grazing, you know, some animals just eat grass. Cows, sheep. I don't know what other animals. I'm not very good with animals. But famously, cows and sheep eat grass.
okay. The sheep is going around in the meadow eating the grass of
That means eating. So eating grass is grazing. Okay. Now, David, what are the big words? What are the important words in the sheep were grazing? What are the important words in that phrase?
the subject, the sheep,
Okay. And are there any other important words or just sheep?
meadow.
Okay. Well, we're just going up to grazing. Don't go to the end. We're just going, the sheep were grazing. We're only focusing on that part.
So the importance that the subject and grazing, the
Graze,
verb
grazing. Okay. And
grazing.
grazing is 2 syllables. Grazing is 2 syllables. Which syllable has all of the stress?
The first one.
Right, gray, gray. So it's really important when you say these to exaggerate the big sounds in these words. They're special words. And that's what we're sort of practicing is exaggerating the special words or special sounds inside of a word and making the other parts very small. That's the rhythm of English and conversation. This is why sometimes it's difficult to understand people when they're talking. But also, this will improve the way other people hear you. The sheep were grazing. You see how the sheep and gray become very big and the other words become very small. In duration, we're just talking about like the rhythm. Okay, the sheep were grazing. Can you say it like that?
Sheep were grazing.
Make sheep bigger, longer in duration. The sheep were grazing.
The sheep were grazing.
That's better. That's better. That's kind of different from Spanish. Alex, can you try that? The sheep were grazing.
The sheep were grazing.
Can you add the 2 words in the?
Okay, the sheep were grazing in the.
Yeah, in the is not important, so it becomes very small. The sheep were grazing in the. The sheep were grazing in the.
The sheep were grazing in the.
Okay, and then the final 2 words, Alex, green meadow. Are those important words?
Yes, yes. Green as an adjective.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, green.
are
So
usually important. How
yeah,
about is meadow also important?
yes, yeah. We'll give it a bit of stress.
Okay, okay. And
Meh,
so which syllable has all of the attention? Meadow. Me,
meadow,
me, me,
meadow, yeah,
meadow.
meadow, yeah, meadow, yeah.
All right. So it sounds like this. The sheep were grazing in the green meadow.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow.
Can you try that, David? Green meadow.
Green meadow.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow.
Okay. Now, Alex, or David, I'm sorry,
Yes, sir.
David, how would you make a question which means, do you agree with me? Do you think, do you agree with my opinion? Do you agree with my idea?
The sheep. Um, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
What is our subject? Who are we talking about?
The sheep
Okay, is that an it?
is an animal. I don't know.
Okay, well, it
Is
is an animal, but are we talking about one or many?
one.
Well, if it were one, then it would be the sheep was grazing in the green meadow.
Oh, yeah, totally right. Totally right.
Sarah gave us the answer in the chat. Don't peek, David. Think about it yourself.
Don't they? Don't they?
Okay, are we saying, is this a do verb, or which verb should we use for that?
Didn't they? Yes, is in past. Didn't they?
Okay, but is this a do verb, or are we dealing with a situation with the verb to be or modals like will, can, may, might? Do you see are we using the verb to be?
Oh, okay, I got it now. Weren't they?
Were,
Weren't they?
weren't they? Weren't they? Okay,
Okay,
weren't
in plural and past tense.
plural,
Weren't they?
weren't they? Okay, now how will you sound the way you're doing it? When you say weren't they, you're like, I don't know. Tell me. I'm not sure. Tell me what to think. How would you say this in a confident way? Like, this is my opinion, and I want you to agree with me. That's not, weren't they? How would you say it?
Weren't they?
Weren't, high to low. Weren't they? Weren't.
Weren't.
Go ahead.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow. Weren't they?
Weren't they? I don't know. You tell me what to think. How will you say it in a confident way? Like, this is my opinion, and I want you to agree with me.
Weren't they?
That's right. Can you try to say that again?
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow. Weren't they?
I'm not sure. You tell me. Do it in a confident way. Weren't they? Weren't they?
Weren't they?
Weren't.
Weren't they?
Yeah, say it like a statement. Weren't they?
Weren't they?
The sheep were grazing in the meadow. Weren't they? Say it like that.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow. Weren't they?
Now you're asking like you're not sure. How do you say it in a confident?
Weren't they?
Try to say the whole sentence in a confident way.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow. Weren't they?
You're saying, weren't they? Like, I don't know. You tell me. You have to say,
Oh my God.
really hard. But it's important. It's important not just to get your own idea or your own attitude, but also to understand the attitude of other people when you're talking to them. Sometimes people are asking you a question. Weren't they? Tell me. Tell me what you know. But if they say, weren't they? They don't want your opinion. They just want you to agree with them. So it's different. It's important to understand that difference.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes, of course. Of course, it's the same words. Only the difference is the rhythm,
The tone.
the tone.
Yeah. Okay,
Let's try again.
go ahead.
The sheep were grazing in a green meadow, weren't they?
That means I don't know what to think. You tell me. Try to be confident.
Weren't they?
Weren't they? Right. But try to do the whole thing and then say, weren't they at the end to show that you're confident.
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow, weren't they?
I'm not sure. You tell me.
Oh no. Weren't they?
Yes, you're right. I mean, you know it. Now you just have to do it. Do you want to try one more time, okay?
The sheep were grazing in the green meadow, weren't they?
Again, you're saying, weren't they? I don't know. You tell me. Still.
Oh my God. Okay. I need practice.
Yeah, it's just, well, it's the first step is just notice it, okay? But you don't have to get it right now. We'll just keep practicing it. But we do have to continue. So, Alex,
Yeah.
can you try to make that question with confidence?
Okay. The sheep were grazing in the green meadow. Weren't they?
Okay, now you're saying it the same way. You're saying, I don't know. You tell me.
Really?
Say it with confidence.
Really?
Weren't they? Really?
Weren't they?
No, that's asking a question. Do it with confidence.
Okay.
Weren't they? Weren't
Weren't they?
weren't they? Up, down.
Weren't they?
You're saying they like a question. It's they.
Weren't they? Weren't they?
Weren't they?
Weren't they?
You're saying they, you're going up, you're making a question. It's not a question.
They.
They.
Weren't they?
Weren't they? Yeah, you're getting closer now.
Okay, weren't they?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's close. Weren't they?
Yeah. Weren't they? That's my homework.
Can you try the whole question? Let's see if you can do it.
Okay.
It's
The
hard.
sheep were grazing. Okay. The sheep were grazing in the green meadow, weren't they?
Yeah, you're saying weren't they? Weren't they?
Again?
Try again.
Weren't they? Weren't they?
You're saying they, but it's they.
They.
Yeah.
Weren't they?
Weren't they?
Weren't they?
Mm-hmm. All right, David, how would you agree with me? This is my idea. The sheep were grazing in the green meadow, weren't they? How do you tell me, oh, that's true, you're right, I agree with what you said? How would you answer that, David?
They were.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yes, you're right.
Yes, they were.
Yes, they were. Okay. How would you disagree with me? How would you tell me, oh, that's wrong. You're wrong about that?
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. That's right. Okay. So if I say, Alex, the sheep were grazing in the green meadow, weren't they? How would you tell me I'm right? I agree with you. You're right about that.
Yes, they were.
Okay. How would you tell me, no, that's not true. You're wrong about that?
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. Okay. All right. Let's do our final vocabulary word. I don't even remember when we used this, but somewhere in there we used the word crucial. Have you seen that word before, Alex?
Yes. Yep.
What does
Essential or
Mhm.
crucial means essential or necessary
Mhm.
for something. Yep.
Necessary. Necessary.
Necessary. Necessary. Necessary.
Necessary. First syllable.
Necessary. Necessary.
Necessary. Okay.
Necessary.
Uh,
Okay.
Alex, can you read number 1? What does it say?
The farmers said rain was crucial for their crops.
Okay. The farmer said the rain was crucial for their crops.
Hmm.
Let's take the first phrase. The farmer said the rain was crucial. Which words are important in that phrase?
Farmer said. I think farmer said. I think farmer said.
Sarah's.
Rain.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry. Rain.
Sorry. Rain and the crucial, yeah, for sure. But which one, farmer or said, I don't know.
I think we could do farmers. I think that might be important here.
Farmer, yeah.
So crucial. Which syllable has all of the stress?
Crucial.
Crew. How about farmers? Which
Oh.
far. Sarah says instrumental and crucial, are they similar? Well, instrumental means it plays an important part, and crucial means it is important. So I guess there's a little bit of a difference. Okay, so what we've got here is farmer said the rain was crucial. Farmer said the rain was crucial. Can you try to say it like that, Alex?
Farmer said the rain was crucial.
Mm-hmm. Can you try that, David? Farmer said the rain was crucial.
Farmer said the rain was crucial.
Okay, and then David, in the final part of that sentence, for their crops, are there any important words to emphasize?
Yes, crops.
Crop. Okay, so that means that we should make the vowel sound longer. Crops.
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 Farmers. So notice that we're doing that with all the important sounds. We're making the vowel sound longer. Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops.
Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Can you try that, Alex? Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops.
Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops.
All right, good. Oh, Alex, how would you make a question at the end of the sentence that means, do you agree with my opinion?
Okay, farmers said didn't they?
Okay. Now, if you say, didn't they? That means I'm not sure.
Again,
Can you
again.
please tell me? So, how will you make it sound like, oh, I'm very confident, this is my opinion, and I want you to agree with me? Can you try that again?
Okay, didn't they?
Don't go up with, don't say say they. Didn't they?
Didn't they?
Like that, yeah.
Didn't they?
Didn't they?
Didn't they?
Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops. Didn't they?
Didn't they?
Yeah, that can you try to say the whole sentence and then at the end say,
Okay.
didn't they?
Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops, didn't they?
That was good. No question. You didn't ask a question that time. You were very confident and you said, hey, that's my opinion and you better agree with me, buddy. Try it one more time.
The way so,
Go ahead.
yeah, the way when you just raise your tones in our culture, it's shown a bit of aggression, if you get what I mean, you know.
Oh,
To be like that's why I don't like.
so when
I feel just
so in Arabic,
yeah, sorry.
if you raise your tones, that sounds abrasive.
Yeah, it's aggressive, and or you try to intimidate the person before you to
Really?
scare them or disrespect, especially with an elder people, you know. So that's why I don't like to raise, even when I say it, I find that it's, you know,
That's so
I feel like about yeah, sorry.
that's funny because in English, when you use the high tone, it sounds like you're being friendly and nice.
No, it's opposite, the opposite, the other way around.
That must so it must be very difficult for you. Didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, that's out of my comfort zone. If you get me, you know, it's, you know, that's
Oh, that's interesting.
uh,
Okay.
uh,
Sarah says he will feel
but
that. Go ahead. What?
yeah, I can easily do that, but I still in my mind, in the
Oh,
back of my mind, it's why should I do that? Why should I do that?
not very because it's not very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, I will get it.
Okay. Then you'll get the new one in your you get the new tones in your head, and then you'll go to Egypt, and then you'll start using the high tones, and people will be angry with you.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
so rude, Alex. Okay,
Especially with the elder people.
David, can you try that? Can you try with a confident tone to say, "Didn't they? Didn't they?"
Didn't they?
That's good. Okay, but now try to say the whole sentence, but then at the end, instead of saying "Didn't they?" say "Didn't they?" Try the opposite.
Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops, didn't they?
Okay, that's a question. That's "Didn't they?" I don't know. You tell me. Try to say it with confidence. "Didn't they?"
Didn't they?
Yeah, try it like that. That's good. But try to say the sentence in front of it first and then say, didn't they?
Farmers said the rain was crucial for their crops, didn't they?
Okay, you're asking a question. Didn't they? Okay, but it's something to be
Didn't they?
aware of. Okay, it's something to think about. We don't have to get it right now. We've got to move on. And it's a small thing. I mean, it's important in your everyday life, but it's something that I think would take a little bit of time. So, David, how will you tell me that's true? I agree with you. I think your opinion is right.
Yes, they did.
So that's right. You're saying, yes, you're right. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Okay, perfect. And how would you tell me that's not true? You're wrong about that.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. Okay, that's right. No, they didn't. Alex, the farmers said the
Yes,
rain was crucial for the crops, didn't they? How will you tell me that's true? I agree with you. Your opinion is right.
yes, they did.
Yes, they did. And how would you tell me you're wrong? That's not true. I don't agree with you.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. Okay. All right, that was the end of our ancient history, and now we're going to move on to psychology. Okay, we're
Oh,
going.
wow.
Yeah, this is going to be much shorter. I think this ancient history was much longer than I thought, but I don't think the psychology one is that long. So we'll try to get through that really quickly. And again, we have a summary and an opportunity for anybody to practice. So any new volunteers, if you want to practice, volunteer now, right before we start. And if not, then maybe Sarah, if you want to practice, you can practice with us in a moment if you would like to. And Kaveh says,
Yes.
"Can I volunteer?" Okay, so Sarah says she wants to volunteer, and Kaveh says he wants to volunteer. So
Okay,
okay, so
I'll put myself on silent here.
okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to read through just a short section from a psychology textbook, and then we'll read the summary, and then I've got 4 vocabulary words here today. And I don't think we're going to move on to philosophy today because we've already been doing this for 2 hours now. All right, so I'm just going to take a 1-minute break, and then when I return, we're going to read from the psychology textbook, then we'll read a summary, and then we'll practice some interesting vocabulary words from that section. And we'll focus on pronunciation, intonation, and accentuation. So don't go away. I'll be back in a few minutes, or just 1 minute really, and then we'll continue.